Hi guys, how's it going? I am in the Netherlands at the moment, a place called Harderwijk, really nice, here for work, and I've been journaling a lot recently, and journaling a little bit this week about health anxiety, which I've spoke about before on my YouTube channel, and I wrote some pieces about, and something that's affected me a lot at different points during my life where I would go through different phases of health anxiety where I would think that I would convince myself I'd have something, whether it come from a symptom, whether it come from watching something and someone's got an illness and I'd kind of put the pieces together, or hearing an illness from someone. So I've wrote down a list of all of the times in my life that I've thought I've had something. I've gone through a phase of health anxiety. And I just thought I'd share that with you because I know that on a few of my videos I've had quite a lot of people talk me through their experiences with health anxiety, and maybe it's someone who's just had it for the first time, or some people who've had recurring things like me. Because I feel like for me, what happened is, luckily in the last few years, I've seen a big shift in how often I get anxious about health now, how I see health, how I approach if I have a symptom, and how I don't let things maybe spiral as out of control. So I feel like I'm in a really good place to do this. I probably wouldn't have been able to do this before now. And I feel like I'm at a good point at the moment to read through the list. But yeah, I hope this comes as some comfort to you as I read through the list of different things, because as I said, some people might be watching who have similar things where I would think I would have something, and then I'd get a resolution, either a result or something telling me that I've not got it, the symptom goes away, and then something else comes up. And then it's like, when does this end? Because there's always something, isn't there? There's always something going on with our bodies that could be something. So it's living with that uncertainty, but also not completely not going to the doctors when we need to. So it's really hard to navigate. But I guess that's a whole other video of me talking about how I'm dealing with my health anxiety at the moment, which I can do if anyone's interested in. But this video is about every single time I've experienced health anxiety, and maybe it'll come as some comfort to you, because it came as some comfort to me knowing how many times I've actually convinced myself something has been wrong, and these are all usually really serious things. I don't worry about catching a cold, I don't worry about getting a headache or whatever. I worry about it being something more serious and not catching it. I discovered that was my biggest fear. So yeah, I hope this helps you, because it helped me. Okay, so here we go. First one, I've got it on my laptop. So I've got brain tumour. This is pretty much my most early memory of health anxiety. I was in high school and I truly convinced myself that I had a brain tumour. And it came from two things, which I know now. One, I watched an episode of Water the Road. I was doing extra work on the show at the time, and a character died from having a brain tumour. And I didn't put the two and two together at the time. I was in high school. I didn't know what I was experiencing. But now on reflection, I remember there was one moment I saw the clip and the character was having a seizure, I think, outside. And I just and now I know that was a big trigger for me to go how can this happen to someone else who's in high school and I'm in high school at the same time. Also, someone in high school, I remember back now, I forgot who it was, but someone told me that their dad died of a brain tumour and his personality changed, all of this happened. So I was hypersensitive. And that's the big thing of health anxiety as well. I was very hyper aware of symptoms happening to me and everything about brain tumours. I was researching and I was very aware of, and that's happens a lot, and that might be happening to you. You know, you've heard something or seen something on TV and you're suddenly very aware of this illness. It's very present when it wasn't before. And it consumed me a lot. I was having headaches at the time. That was the tricky thing. I was having headaches and I couldn't quite shake them off. It turned out I went to the doctors in the end for this, after going to the doctors quite a few times. And it turns out the cause of it, which is so bizarre, is because I used to wet my hair going to high school, just wet it, and then go to school, without drying it or anything. So that was causing headaches. And I was just like, oh, that makes sense. And then I stopped, the headaches went, and then the whole anxiety went away. But that really affected my exams and everything on reflection, and probably my high school experience, which wasn't the best anyway, being part of the LGBTQ plus community. Wasn't the funnest. Next one after that, heart attack. When I was about 15, 16 years old, I had a while where I would check my pulse as though I was having a heart attack. And I heard my dad talk about how you get this pain in your chest, and he talked about the symptom, and it goes to your arm, your left arm. And I was hypersensitive to that all the time. And every time I had wind or something, I was almost like creating the symptom. You know, if you like sort of like keep swallowing or burping, you can kind of give yourself like chest pain sometimes. I was doing that a lot. And I also have this hiatus hernia, which I know now, which I also had then, which also causes wind. So that was the whole time when I thought I was having a heart attack all the time, which is not fun for someone 15, 16 years old thinking they're having a heart attack. I think it was the uncertainty as well of just hearing that, you know, people do pass away from heart problems like quite early. And I think I heard a story from someone else where something similar happened. And still, if I still listen to my pulse today, I find it quite triggering. Less in recent years, but say maybe cut back 5 years ago, I remember there was a time when I was having my pulse checked by the GP for something. It was just something completely irrelevant, not a health anxiety thing. And I remember I just found it really triggering, like seeing the number. I couldn't look at it, and I think it was from this. Interesting. A lump under my armpit. I was convinced, as it was a hard lump, that it was some kind of cancer. And in conclusion, it was just like a lymph node. At the time I had like an infection, but I went for like tests and everything for it. I cut myself in the gym. I'm laughing because this sounds ridiculous now, but at the time I was stressed about it. I cut myself in the gym and convinced, like on like a machine, it was like a little pointy out thing on the like pull up arm thing. I convinced myself I would get sepsis from it, from a Googling spiral, and that lasted for a few weeks because I was like, oh, if it gets to this certain date, then I've got past the time, because it was something where it could like come on at any time. I think. Mole. I've got a mole on my arm. This mole, which is still there. I was convinced that it was skin cancer. Wasn't skin cancer. I had a cough for a few weeks, and I thought I had lung cancer. Even though when I was single, I was practicing safe sex, I convinced myself a few times that I had HIV, even though I know that HIV is not a death sentence, but I was really hyper aware of HIV. I didn't realise what HIV was early on in sort of like my adult life as well. I heard it for the first time, and I remember being, you hear like all these like stories that are quite not factual from, before medicine has changed and before research and treatment of HIV has developed. I heard a lot of those stories, and I didn't realise what it was, and that's definitely something that should be taught more in schools, especially for people who are queer, but anybody, because anyone can get HIV. But I think it just stressed me out because I didn't know what it was, and then I was suddenly being sexually active, and then I suddenly was like, oh, what's this? And then I was going to get myself checked all the time, and every time I'd have like a hookup or I was dating someone and I wasn't sure about them, I would convince myself that I had HIV. And I think it was the 3-month thing that freaked me out as well. It was kind of like, it wasn't like the test could be, that was it. It was like the test could never be 100%, because it was like until 3 months had passed. So if I was ever worried, I would have to be in like a phase of health anxiety for 3 months before realising. And then as time went on, I did become less and less worried about HIV because I learned more about it and learned more about how to stay safe from it. And there's things like PrEP and stuff now. But yeah, HIV. I fell off my bike. This is last year. I fell off my bike and I thought I was having a blood clot. And I went to A&E and bought flight socks and everything, because my leg sort of swelled a little bit. And I was just convinced that I had a blood clot, and I was flying late that week. So I bought like these flight socks and everything. And I went to, I think I went to A&E twice over that. Fun. That was one of my more recent ones. Yes, I thought I had anal cancer at one point because there was like a little lump there. It wasn't. It was just like a fissure or something. Stomach and esophagus cancer due to my hiatus hernia, which I've spoken about a lot on my channel. these are the most recent ones. I think I did a video in 2020, probably the last time that was really affecting me on my channel. And I've been hyper aware of esophagus cancer ever since I found out that I had a hiatus hernia, and it freaks me out still now thinking about it. But obviously my anxiety's got a lot better. I've had some tests. I feel more in control of that, and that's the most recent ones I think that have really lasted a while. Where I've been waiting for an endoscopy, or I've been I've been hyper analysing like my symptoms and what's going on there. I'd say the last time was probably maybe a year or so ago. In the past year, I've been a lot better with that. So I feel like I'm really proud of myself from where I am with my health anxiety. There's probably more. These are just the ones I've journaled. There's probably more, definitely, that are going to come to mind. More little ones, because these are probably like the more bigger ones where I've been thinking about it for maybe more than a week, where it's been on my mind. And it's kind of like that thing where you'll wake up and you'll forget about it. And then as the day goes on, like it looms, like I remind myself, oh yeah, like this could have been a thing, or like this could be a possibility. And it was always the possibility of it that freaks me out. Like this symptom could possibly be that. And it's scary. Health anxiety is scary. So if you're suffering with it right now, like I feel just so proud of myself for really taking control of it a little bit more, because it was affecting my quality of life a lot. Because, you know, once or twice a year, if I'm going through a month or 2 months of worrying about an illness, like that's a third of the year gone. Like I'm not having that for the rest of my life. So I feel really in control of it. I might do a few other videos. If anyone's interested, let me know, because I'd love to do a few videos talking about sort of how I'm sort of dealing with it right now, like some advice, and anything else you'd like to hear from me, I'd be willing to do for you. Subscribe to my channel, please. A few things as well, a few quick shout outs. So I'm doing a name change on my music. My music used to be John Thacker. It's now John Joseph. I did a video about it recently. If you would like to be nice and give my new page a follow, I basically lost all my followers because I've moved it over, but I've kept my streams. So if you can go on Spotify and like and follow John Joseph, I would be forever in your debt. Follow me on any of the socials as well if you've got any questions. I get some DMs sometimes from people who are going through some health anxiety phases, and hopefully I can help.